My name is Eden Alson. I'm 17 years old. I live in New York City with both of my parents and my grandma. I go to Grace Church School. I'm a senior, so I'm applying to colleges this fall. Earlier this month, well, actually, at the very start of the month, I released my second novel, um, called Far From Here, and uh, it's been a very interesting process, but I'm really happy that it's out in the world. Uh, I'm interested in writing, obviously, but also um, filmmaking and acting and singing and a lot of artistic endeavors. Um, and I'm probably going to be some sort of artistic or um, maybe slightly politically based major in college. But I have to get in first.
Did you always have an affinity for writing and reading because you grew up in a family that has, besides your parents, has you also have other relatives that do that? Was that like, sometimes people say, well, I don't want to do what my family does. Like if you come from a doctor, a family of lawyers and doctors, you may want to become a writer. How did you balance that out?
Well, both of my parents are writers, but I think they made a conscious effort to not like force me into being interested in writing, but they did want me to learn to read early and give me an appreciation for reading and books and all that kind of thing. And I did. I really took to reading really pretty. I don't know what the average age to learn to read is, but I was a little bit younger. I was like 4 or 5. Um, and I've always really loved to read. I there's a lot of pictures of me on the back of my dad's bike going somewhere, and I'm just reading. And or there's one picture of me in when we were in Italy, and there's this beautiful museum in the like we're in a riverboat, and there's this beautiful museum in the background, and I'm just sitting there like with my nose in a book that I'd already read 4 times by that point. um, so that's just always been something that has really meant a lot to me, and I think I don't really know, I can't really remember when I started writing, but I do have like a mild form of dysgraphia. So when I was a little kid, I really hated writing, like handwriting things. And that sort of turned me off of it when I was younger. But once I learned that, typing was a thing and I didn't have to handwrite everything I wrote, um, I started writing short, like, well, the beginnings of longer stories is like the best way to put it. Not short stories because they weren't complete in any way, but the beginnings of longer stories, like on my computer.
The actual process of writing is a very difficult process. And did you take to that? Did it seem like something that you were just capable of doing, or did you have to work hard at refining your craft?
Um, I think that writing, or I don't think that scene writing or like writing dialogue or descriptions has ever been particularly difficult for me. I think I like the concept of writing an interaction between two characters, or the, or describing a moment in someone's life or something like that, that has never really been difficult for me. I think it just sort of comes naturally. Um as I don't know, more maybe just as a result of viewing, of like observing people and my own thoughts and just like how I view the world and think about things. But I think that what is difficult for me is plot. Like, I could write a whole bunch of nothing until the cows come home, but I like the thing that I have a real problem with is I need like a structured, is coming up with a structured plot. So also I make things like overly complicated for myself. I always want to do like two perspectives, or two like timelines, or like lots of different character voices, or like third person, first person, blah blah blah. Um and I think like in my most recent book there's most of it is first person, but then for some reason at the end, there's two separate chapters where I just throw in a third person narrative. Because I don't know, nothing can be simple, I guess. And it's stuff like that where to me it's like interesting, but for some people it might read as a little bit like out of nowhere or complicated, and also just plot elements that aren't always clear. Like I'm trying to write something now, and I actually wrote out a whole like plot summary, like breaking down each chapter, and I still can't really get it together. So that's the kind of thing I struggle with. But the actual writing part, I don't find as difficult.
So I can send you all my plot ideas that I can't execute, right?
Sure, yeah,
I,
I'll take
I
it.
have a good one. I think you'll like it.
Send them to me.
Yeah, no,
I think I did send it
she'll
to you, Allison. I
yeah.
don't think you jumped at it. It's the
Really?
one about the patches that you put on people's heads and they can learn to access data. And I actually wrote it in the last century, but now it's coming closer to actually being true.